Hi, if you're joining me here for your first video and you're looking at the Taurus video, just wanted to explain a little bit about what this series is all about. So I'll be taking you through each of the 12 archetypes. So today we're looking at Taurus, second house, and the themes around that. And we're looking at the challenging aspects psychologically and the positive aspects also psychologically. The reason for this is you need to have quite a good grasp of the archetypes so that when it comes time to looking at your chart and wanting to have an understanding of what a particular planet in a house and sign might mean, you want to be able to blend the archetypes together. You want to find the right nuance for what something means, and that's probably the most challenging part of astrology. But if you have a fluidity with understanding what the archetypes really mean, then you can do that a lot more successfully. So this series is to take you through each of the 12 archetypes, and then following this we'll start looking at other particular placements and how to blend them together. And hopefully you'll find that really useful and successful. So today we're looking at Taurus, and we'll start with the challenging aspects. So after the real energy of Aries, Taurus can be like a brick wall to sort of stop and ground the energy. And that's not a bad thing, but if it manifests in a more negative or challenging way, then what we find is a degree of stuckness and a real obsession and focus on survival. So you can find with Taurus and or second house placements a preoccupation with survival, which can look like OCD, or it can look like constant worries about particular problems in life, especially problems to do with money or food. So you can really see a lot of that as well, and a preoccupation with being really able to provide any of that for yourself in particular, because the second house is really how you resource yourself. So these are obviously going to be very challenging aspects which will permeate a lot of the areas of your life. If you're experiencing those, if you're always in sort of survival mode when it comes to feeling safe and secure in life. So I've just got a list here of things that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, this focus on survival and really feeling unsafe somehow, that you can't protect yourself either, which is a little bit different to the 8th house of Scorpio. But there's this sense where perhaps in that aspect, which we'll look at, it's more about how you might feel that you're unsafe in the world. This is you're at risk of just surviving because you don't have enough of whatever you need to meet your survival needs. So that leads to sort of a focus on contingency plans and trying to really manipulate your outside environment to keep yourself safe. So that could be perhaps hoarding, buying too many things, constantly watching your money where it goes, worrying about money. It could be worrying about food, thinking about food all the time, thinking that there won't be enough to eat, or you can't eat what you like, or but in other ways it could be more of an obsession with controlling food and things like that. So that's some of the way that those challenging aspects manifest, and it's coming from this underlying feeling of that there's not enough, that there's lack, and that essentially your survival is at stake. Other things that, so that's, you might feel that really strongly if you have quite a significant placement there. But in other ways, what else can it represent? It can represent a lack of a zest for life. If you imagine that Aries has been blocked by a brick wall, then it can really like dampen all senses. Whereas Taurus can be very sensual. If on its challenging end, all of those senses are dampened, leading one to feel very withdrawn, being very insular within themselves, really closed off, really sort of hunched over and blocked off to whatever is going on around them and the rest of the world. If you don't realize this about yourself, you might wonder why you're so bored and why life really is not exciting for you at all. So there can be that boredom, and obviously that boredom, if you're really blocked off from following your instincts, then you're blocking off the next phase of curiosity, then this could be a source also of depression as well. So we talked about some things like financial insecurity. There can be body insecurity, and depending on placements, I mean the second house and Taurus can be an indicator of, because it's to do with survival, it can be really to do with your sexual organs as well. So there can be some challenging aspects or some experiences around that as well. So perhaps even you feel a real blockage of your sexual energy, either due to other things going on in your life or some trauma, a trauma of some sort of sexual experience as well. So you can be quite numb emotionally, and you're placing a lot of your energy and a lot of your focus into the material, and so you have your energy really outside yourself rather than centered in yourself, and that projecting outwards onto a lot of material things can mean you're quite disconnected from your emotions and somewhat emotionally numb, that you've blocked feeling on purpose, to block that Aries drive. And then it is, of course, the placement of values, of your values, what you value. And depending on what's going on in other places in your chart, you might be very stubbornly attached to your values, such that you don't consider what other people value and weigh up, which is the other, part of Taurus, Venus, Libra, weighing up. You're not really focused on that. So you can be, too stuck to your own values. Perhaps even it develops into like a sort of dogmatism in the end. And too much just in reality. I mean, that doesn't sound like a bad thing, being in reality. Obviously that tends to sound better than being stuck in an illusion or a delusion. But if the 3D world is really what you take to be real, factual, that's it, that's how it is, it cannot be changed, it's immovable, nothing can be done, this is the world I live in, that's blocking a lot of creativity, that's blocking your power, that is blocking the degree to which you can perceive and be creative in what you can see, be creative in what you can create, and the way that you can interact with your world if you feel it is very fixed. And so one of the more challenging aspects of Taurus is the degree to which it is very fixed and immovable and will not change. And those sorts of viewpoints and living your life in that way can obviously be challenging and limiting. So hopefully that gives you a good impression. Not a positive impression, but an idea behind the more challenging aspects of Taurus. And now we'll move to the more positive and empowering aspects. So when you are activating a placement in the second house or in Taurus to its highest degree, what are the positive aspects you can experience? So there's a lot of self-confidence. And that self-confidence stems from the strong value that you have in yourself. That's different from sticking to your own values. That's important. But it's not just randomly. It's those, you've developed your values. They've grown with you. You haven't been stuck with your initial set of values. You are open to changing them and molding them as life goes on. So the values that you've developed are very important to you, and you feel very grounded in those. And from there, you really value yourself a lot, because to sort of have values that you want to stick to strongly, you believe in yourself. You believe in what you've chosen and what you've developed. And so with that self-confidence that develops from there, you have a lot of strong self-worth. So you're coming from a very grounded place, such that the world around you cannot move you, because you are grounded in who you are, what you value, and in yourself. You have great self-love as well, that is demonstrated, that you demonstrate to yourself and that other people can observe also. That would also be very obvious with a positively charged Taurus second house. And so that means then, in many ways, with that grounding, then you're very reliable. You can be relied upon. You can rely on yourself. You're very steadfast, and for yourself and others, okay, but mainly for yourself. It's very much about like the consolidation. It's about consolidating aspects of your life. So you're able to merge the inner and the outer in a way that flows, and in a way that empowers you, rather than just being fixated on what's outside yourself or what's inside yourself. It's a consolidation of your inner and outer resources together in a holistic way. So other words are you're prepared, solid, steady, self-reliant, patient, persevering, tenacious, conscientious. All of those sorts of things become empowering parts of how you operate in whatever placement we might be looking at. Those things come through strongly, and you enjoy those parts about yourself as well. There's also a simplicity to life. Life is not as complicated as it used to be, or as it was, perhaps, if you've been working on in like moving your Taurus or second house energy to the positive aspects. Life is simple, and you revel in that simplicity, because that simplicity is very sensual as well. Your life is simple, but you're engaging all your senses and reveling in that. So you can imagine what a life like that looks like. Life is a little bit slower, in terms of it's not a frantic pace. It's not a frantic pace of survival. But what you're reveling in is the cooking of a delicious meal, playing some beautiful music in the background, enjoying the aromas of what you're smelling, sitting down with this meal, tasting it, savoring it, tasting and smelling a delicious glass of wine, enjoying your surroundings, the table, your place setting, the people that you're with, the fire crackling in the background, or the rain outside, or the beautiful breeze, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of you have a lot of that experience as well, and it's a very sensuous and simple life, but you can imagine the great pleasure from that, the pleasure that you can experience when you're not in this survival mode. You feel really deserving of all that too. You love and honor yourself, and you know what you deserve. So there's a sense of, I deserve this, feeling very deserving. And you have the ability to go from the challenging to the positive with a series of healthy self-soothing techniques. So not binge eating or binge watching television or all the things that might soothe but actually are not so healthy. You have ways and means of soothing yourself and grounding yourself and placing yourself in the present moment, and taking yourself away from the fear and the survival parts that you might otherwise be thinking of. So yeah, that's a few of the, hopefully it takes you on that spectrum from the challenging to the positive. So thanks for tuning in to this video about Taurus.